Welcome to 12.5, Volume of Prisms. Volume is the measure of space occupied by a three-dimensional region. So we've been doing area so far, and area is like you're covering something or like you're wrapping it in wrapping paper. Volume means you're filling it up. It's the amount of space inside. It is measured in cubic units. So whatever our units are for volume, they are going to be cubed. We talked about how three-dimensional figures have three dimensions: length, width, and depth. Volume is going to be that measure of the length, width, and depth. Since there's three things involved in volume, our units are going to be cubed. So first we're going to start with prisms. So remember the difference between a prism and a pyramid is that a prism has two bases and a pyramid has one. The volume of a prism, V, is the area of the base, represented by the letter capital B, times the height. So we've already had the letters B and H before in our other formulas. Like I said, you will not be required to memorize these formulas, but you do have to know what each of the letters stands for. A capital B represents the area of the base, and H represents the height. So if I were to write this out as a formula, I have volume, or V, equals capital B times H, area of the base times the height. So the prisms that we're going to be dealing with for the most part are either triangular prisms, which means the base is a triangle, or some type of rectangular prism or cube, which means the base would be either a square or a rectangle. So if we're thinking about a triangular prism and we need to find the area of the base, well, triangular prism, again, the base is a triangle. So that means my capital B, my area of the base, is going to be the formula for the area of a triangle. 1/2 the base of the triangle times the height of the triangle. So we could say the volume formula is going to be 1/2 the base times the height of the triangle times the height of the prism. This gives me capital B, and this gives me H. Now the H's in each of these are different. The first H represents the height of the triangle, the base of the triangle. The second H represents the height of the prism. The height of the prism is going to be what connects those two triangles. Now over here we have a rectangular prism, which means the shape of the base is a rectangle. So our volume formula is area of the base times the height. Well, to find the area of a rectangle, we would do the length times the width, or the base times the height. This gives us the capital B, and then we would have to multiply it by the height of the prism, the thing connecting the two bases, the H. So our formulas look a little bit different. The rectangular prism doesn't involve 1/2, but the triangular prism does. So a shortcut would maybe be whenever you see a triangle, you know you have to add 1/2 to your formula, but in a rectangular prism, you do not have to multiply it by 1/2. Number 1, find the volume of a rectangular prism with a length of 10, a width of 13, and a height of 21. So first, I would write out, I need V for volume, and my volume formula for a prism is the area of the base times the height. Okay, since I see it's a rectangular prism, I know I'm not involving 1/2. I need the length times the width, that gives me the area of the base, times the height of the prism. Okay, now I just move to my calculator. I have my length times my width times my height, or my base times my height times the height of the prism. So to your calculator, 10 times 13 times 21 gives me 2,730 feet cubed. because again, we have 3 measurements. We're talking about volume. Our units are cubed. Find the volume of each triangular prism. So I see that these are a triangle. I know I'm going to deal with 1/2. My volume for a prism is the area of the base times the height. So let's deal with the base first. The base is a triangle, so I need 1/2 the base of the triangle times the height of the triangle. That gives me my capital B, times the height of the prism, which is the thing connecting the 2 bases. So now I go to my calculator. Area of the base times the height. 6.5 times 8 times 15 divided by 2. Or I could do 0.5 times 6.5 times 8 times 15. Take a second and try it on your calculator. You should get 390 inches cubed because we're talking about volume. Let's look at the next one. Still volume of a triangular prism. So I'm going to write out volume equals area of the base times the height. If you say it as you write it and you practice that on your homework, then you'll remember what all of the letters stand for. So since I see a triangle, area of the base would be 1/2 the base of the triangle times the height of the triangle. That gives me my capital B. My height of my prism goes from one base to the other, 5.2. This is my H. So volume equals area of the base or area of the triangle times the height of the prism. Again, you can type in 0.5 times 6.5 times 7 times 5.2, or you could do 6.5 times 7 times 5.2 and divide it by 2. Either way, you get your volume is 118.3 millimeters cubed. Number 3, a children's rectangular pool holds 17.5 cubic feet of water. So right there, I should notice a few things. First is the word holds. Doesn't say covers, holds. I'm thinking volume. Second, I see cubic feet. My units are cubed, so again, I'm thinking volume. I have a rectangular pool, and the volume is 17.5 feet cubed. What is the width of the pool if its length is 3.5 and its height is 1? So now that we have everything written down, let's go to our formula. If I'm talking about volume and it's a rectangular pool, I know it's a prism. Volume is the area of the base times the height. Now we'll fill in the information we have. They tell me the volume is 17.5. Area of the base, since it's a rectangle, would be the length times the width, or 3.5 times W. That gives me my capital B, times the height, which would give me 1. Well, I really don't have to write times 1 because anything times 1 is just itself. So now I could solve for W by dividing both sides by 3.5. 17.5 divided by 3.5 gives me 5. Since it's talking about width, I need to make sure I label it correctly. That would be 5 feet. All right, and the last one here, find the volume of the figure at the right. So this looks like a set of stairs. The volume is going to be each stair added together. So I'm going to first need to find the volume of the top, and I'm going to need to add it to the volume of the bottom. Well, each of these are rectangular prisms. So let's go with the top in orange and the bottom in red. Let's deal with the top one first. I need the area of the base times the height of the prism. So I see the base is right here. My base is 1 centimeter by 2.5. So my area would be 1 times 2.5. The height goes from the base to the other base. Well, in order for these stairs to stack like they do, if the bottom is 7, this is also 7. Therefore, my height is 7. Now let's go to the red. I need the area of the base times the height of the prism. If this is the base of my step, I see it's 4 by 2. The height goes from one base to the other, which is again 7. So now I'm going to go ahead and go to my calculator. I'm going to start out by doing 1 times 2.5 times 7 to get 17.5. And then I'm going to do 4 times 2 times 8 to get 64. Now I'll add the two together. To get 81.5 centimeters cubed. Oops, there's my mistake. This is not 64. Let's fix that. 56, there we go. Plus 17.5 is 73.5. My mistake. Okay, so I had the orange stair and I added it to the red stair to give me a total volume, the amount of space inside those two stairs put together. So now you're going to move on to your homework. You need to first figure out whether it is a rectangular prism or a triangular prism. As a reminder, these formulas you do not have to memorize, but you have to know capital B stands for the area of the base, and H stands for the height of the prism. Area of the base will be different, whether it's a rectangle, base times height or length times width, or it's a triangle, 1/2 base times height. Triangular prisms involve 1/2, rectangular prisms do not.